Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So next month will actually mark 20 years since I quit drinking soda. I used to drink a lot of soda. My favorite brand was Coke, and I would often drink 2 to 4 liters of it a day. And my parents are very upset. They try to get me to cut back. They tried to. At the time, I lived in the suburb. We really didn't have any grocery stores within walking distance, and so I didn't drive yet. So my parents would just ration how much soda they would buy when they went grocery shopping every week or every 2 weeks. So they would buy as much soda as they thought I should drink in a week or 2 weeks, and I would drink it in 1 or 2 days, and then I would be very upset with my family, and I had major anger problems, probably triggered by either the sugar from the soda or from craving the soda and not having it around. And I remember, it's kind of weird because it forced me to, the other problem I had was a lot of social anxiety. I was 14, 15 years old, and oftentimes the only reason I would want to go to a crowd, like a party, like my parents might have a reunion with their classmates or something, the only reason I would want to go to somebody's home is to drink their soda, and it forced me to, otherwise I would have stayed home a lot more back then. So it wasn't the end of the world, but it really, I really missed out on a lot of things when I was drinking all that soda. But you know what? Soda wasn't the worst habit I ever had. I want you to pause the video to think about one habit, especially during this current permacrisis with the pandemic, stagflation, Putin. There is one habit that a lot of Americans are exhibiting, and that is close-mindedness. Not the inability to quickly pivot on a dime in terms of your ways of life, right? So you go to the store, toilet paper is sold out, and you instantly get into a fight with whoever's at the store rather than strategize, right? Your favorite food is sold out. You have to rethink your habits. You have to rethink. Right now, a lot of people are having a hard time adjusting, a lot of employers especially, having a hard time adjusting to employees working from home. I don't know why. I think a lot of it is cultural close-mindedness, right? So, for example, right now, a lot of I've had to change a lot of my eating habits, obviously, because of supply shortages, and but it's great. I get to enjoy other new things. I got to admit, I had a little bit of difficulty when I lost my appetite last month due to long COVID. I could have enjoyed that time a little bit more, but it's weird. You get into these routines. Had I continued to have long COVID for forever and lost my appetite, I probably would have adjusted sooner or later. It's kind of ironic that just as I was adjusting, my appetite roars back to life, and I had a hard time adjusting back too. So, but it was only 1 month, right? Had it lasted longer, that could have been a different story. I really love that we get to compete on the Computer Olympiad remotely. Now, I remember years ago, 4 years ago, I suggested that some of these competitions could be held remotely. You got to understand, I pay for all of these travel expenses out of my own pocket, right? And oftentimes I have to use my own vacation time, and I'd much rather be doing some other stuff. But the Computer Olympiad's pretty important to my career too. So 4 years ago, I suggested that we hold these competitions remotely. This was before any of that drama had happened. And well, I got my wish, but not in the way that I had hoped, right? And now nobody wants to go to the contest anymore. I think this year it's going to be held in Europe, and I actually wouldn't mind going there, but it looks like nobody's going to go there, so I get to enjoy my time and money to myself, right? It used to be a big expense every year, not just in terms of the money, but in terms of the time as well. Oftentimes, these days, I often think that I'm broke in terms of, if time were a currency, right? I would literally be bankrupt, right? I declare bankruptcy on my time, right? I often find myself saying that, right? But anyways, I wish more people were more fluid-minded, though. A lot of people get. See, I was talking to a friend of mine at the board game meetup, and he just went through a major relationship breakup, or so he thinks. And I'm thinking to myself, you had 4 years to enjoy with her, right? Think about where you could have been today if it weren't for all the experiences you had, right? And yet all he thinks about is how bitter he is and all that. I wish people were more fluid-minded with their eating habits, right? Don't tell me you're hungry if you're 20 or 30 pounds overweight, right? Enjoy the new. Right now here in the United States, we spend 7% of our income on food. Around the world, the average is about 40%. Even in Western Europe, it's 20%. In Canada, in Japan, right? Countries are much wealthier than the United States in terms of culture. If you don't just count the money in your pocket, but in terms of cultural experiences, I would argue we're behind Western Europe, Canada, Japan, Taiwan. All of those countries are much wealthier than us, right? And we refuse to change our ways, right? Anyways, all right, be more fluid-minded. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.